Hello there, Bic Benedict here. We're playing Spec Ops The Line on the PC on FUBAR difficulty, and this is my guide and walkthrough. We're currently on chapter 13 of 15. It is entitled Atoms. So this is going to be your rags to riches tale, guys. You start at the beginning with nothing, and you're going to end up a Vito Corleone, if you take my meaning. Now, if you don't, I'm sorry that you don't understand the illusion, but you don't need to understand what's going to be going on here, because you're just a simple person playing a game that is a great game called Spec Ops The Line, and I wish there was a sequel to this game, goddammit. Now, when you come into this area over here, you're going to notice that we've met up with one of the two teammates that we've been estranged from over here. Unfortunately, he's bleeding out, so you need to clear up the enemies over in this location, and then stick the plunger of morphine into his back per usual, and then that's going to give him the revive that he needs, and it's going to give you the checkpoint that you need to start out the beginning of this chapter with. So switch out the Desert Eagle for the assault rifle, and also do not forget to pick up the Scar-H. Do all of your reloading, and then come up here and heal your fallen comrade. Now, healing him is no big issue, and really the fight that's coming up over here, I assume that the game expects you to have the fight near Atoms, because if you come over here or anywhere else, on any of the outlying areas, Atoms continually says things to try to pull you back as though you're abandoning him. He tries to and he'll say it constantly. He'll say, "You son of a bitch, I'm not set yet. Get your ass back here." All of these things that, if it's too annoying for you, I would understand if you wanted to turn the speech dialogue. Holy shit, talk about a headless goddamn horseman, man. So I was on this for about 45 minutes in total, and yes, you can get hit while you're behind cover. Sometimes it's a thing that happens in a very minor way, and it doesn't affect the game. It's not anything like Gears of War 4 on the prologue. So if you're too annoyed by Adams on all of his calls for you to come back, just put the speech dialogue. You can decrease it or put it to 0. I actually turned it back on because I don't know. There's just something about having all the sound effects on in a game that makes you feel more like you're participating in it more. But it's kind of annoying. And if you stay at the epicenter of the area, you actually are going to get bombarded by grenades. And it's very unsafe to stay at the beginning part, like where you initially start if you reset the checkpoint or you find that you've died. Staying at the epicenter is extremely dangerous. Now, on this fight, I'm going to primarily stay over here in this boat over here. Sometimes you will get enemies that rush you. I found that it was the elites that were rushing me more. Not the guys that were fighting over here, but the ones that spawn with the heavy. In fact, I'm not sure when exactly the heavy spawns, but you might want to try this location if you're having a hard time on this fight, because over here, none of the enemies will throw grenades at you, and even when the heavy spawns, if he were to march his way over here, which I've never actually seen him come over here, because on this fight, which was my successful fight, he actually, okay, see, stuff like this can actually happen. So on Gears of War that would kill you, but in this game it doesn't. So it's really nice that it does that. And I got a whole shit ton of great stuff over there, and it does look, in fact, like the heavy spawns with the elites. And I stand corrected. There are more than just 2 executions that you do. See that bullshit? I was minding my own business in cover, and the heavy hit me. The heavy hit me while I was in cover. You know, every time I see these heavies, I'm reminded of, have you seen Jurassic Park when they come up with that huge mound of shit from the dinosaurs, that the dinosaurs shat, and it was this huge mound like 6 feet high? I imagine that's the type of shit that these heavies do. But in all seriousness, guys, from this distance we can't deal damage to the heavy. And the thing about this whole situation is Do you see the heavy? He's in the distance behind the Hummer over there. What is with that? I'm staying behind cover and I'm getting hit. It's a very minor thing that happens in this game, but it still happens, and I don't like it. Now, the heavy is trapped on the Hummer back there, and he can't seem to get unstuck. And I will be leaving this area to get him unstuck because I didn't. I wasn't really comfortable of having this footage over here with him being stuck. So at my own peril, I am going to leave this area. But what I was going to say in a moment was that, these heavies, even if the heavy were to march up to you, there would really be no way that he could vault in here. Like, see that nonsense? It's ridiculous sometimes, but it isn't enough that it's going to ruin the game. So it doesn't ruin the game. So if you are having problems here, the last time I did this project, what I did was I ran as far back as I could near the entrance of this area. But what I found was that the heavy can easily find his way up to you and flank you. And while it is true that the heavy can flank you over here to the right, he cannot vault into this area. So as long as you could pick up something good, like there's a shotgun guy that seems to always get felled by Adams to the right, up and to the right. If you rewatch the beginning of this footage, there's a shotgun. So you could blind fire kill the heavy if he marched his way up here. And that would be a good thing because heavies cannot mantle over objects. So you would be completely safe in here, even if you had the heavy not get stuck behind the Hummer like he's getting stuck for me. I did feel bad about this, quite honestly, guys. So at my own peril, I am going to leave here probably around about now at some point. And I'm going to move so that he can actually get unstuck because I felt bad for the heavy, honestly. I mean, I didn't literally feel bad for him. I felt bad that, if people watching the guide, they might not know what to do if, with a moving heavy, but you've dealt with moving heavies in the past, and it's actually much more safe for you if you just remain in that boat over there. So we're going to be dealing with a lot of heavies on this chapter, and what I would recommend is that you don't use too much of your Scar-H's grenades, and also so what am I going to end this stage with? That might be your question. I'm going to end it with as many frags as I can. Frag grenades, and I mean all of the projectiles. Probably, if I remember correctly, going into Chapter 14, I'll have all of the projectiles, or the throwing devices, I'll have all of those maxed out. And I will have the 417, and I will have the Scar-H with max ammo. So, I've had people, since this is a Project Redux, I've had a lot of people in the past have problems with the beginning of the next chapter, and I've noticed a common trend in their comments is that they're complaining because they don't have very much good stuff, and they're having a hard time dealing with the fight. And I'm not unsympathetic about that at all, because I realize that, maybe you mistakenly began the chapter or something, but what you want to avoid at all costs is doing a fresh start of chapter 14, because you're not going to have the advantage that you need to deal with it. If you can, why not have the best stuff going into one of the hardest chapters of the game? That's my logic. So when you get over here, there is going to be one sniper perched on the yacht in the center of the area, and you're going to have a lot of elites. Now, my mistake when I did this project last time was assigning Adams. I was assigning him targets to kill. Now, while I might assign Adams some nearby targets, I'm not going to assign him any targets that are long range, because what Adams does, Adams carries the... Okay, so this is how it works. Lugo, holy shit, Lugo is the sniper and the designated medic, and so what therefore is Adams? What's his role? Adams uses he uses heavy arms, and he throws grenades. So if you can't get a line on the enemies with the the saw. Excuse me. He uses the saw. He uses the weapons that the heavy uses. So what Adams does, if you assign Adams targets over here, Adams is going to go out of his way to put himself in danger over here. And if he feels like it, if the AI, you know, I don't know all the algorithms, but he will throw grenades at people. He is the grenade chucker, and he is the saw wielder. So to put yourself in the least amount of peril, I did this on my first attempt, by the way, because I've done it so many times in the past and I made so many mistakes. Don't assign Adams, if you can help it, don't assign Adams any targets to kill over here. Now, of course, in the course of this fight, you've seen me hover that triangle over enemies. What I do is I hover it over enemies and then I release it off of the enemy because I don't want to target the enemy. I just want to try to find them. So that's all I'm doing is I hover it over an enemy and then I raise it off of him, and I don't assign anybody targets. Or excuse me, it's just Adams, because you don't want to get into a situation over here where Adams falls. Because if he doesn't fall behind cover, you're going to have a hard time reviving him without getting killed. And even if he is in cover, you can also get killed quite easily. The sniper will end you over here. So if you have the 417, you can reach this guy feasibly. It only has a 4x scope, but you should be able to do the job. And whatever you do, don't ask Adams. If Lugo were around, you know, Lugo being the designated sniper, we could have him help. See what I'm doing? I'm just highlighting him, and then I'm taking the marker off of him because I don't want Adams to just rush up there and get put down. Because what Adams will probably do is he'll go around throwing grenades. So I can put down the sniper, and we just did. Now, this area over here has a couple of ammunition boxes. It also has a cache of grenades. I think they're the sticky grenades, but don't quote me on that. Now, when you get up here, you can either access the ship from the left or from the right. I, out of habit, access it out of the right. But when you do come up here, you're going to find yourself triggering another spawn without a checkpoint, so you need to be very careful. And if you would like, you can head over to the left if you want. But like I said, out of habit, I always just come over here to the right. So when you do push up, you're going to find that the spawn consists of a shotgunner as well as an enemy up on the ship who should be coming down over here to greet us in a moment. There usually is an enemy as well who won't come down, and you'll have to rush him, and it's kind of awkward because you're going up a set of staircases that are twisty. Okay, so that is the second enemy put down. We should only have one enemy left. Now, when you get to the next checkpointed area, you could actually come down here and pick up all of your weapon. You can pick up all of the boxes with the ammo. So you need to be very careful when you come up in here, because, like I say, there's one enemy who digs himself in at the top of the ship, and I can't remember, but I think Adams actually does give me a hand in helping this guy in helping me kill this guy over here. See, Adams is firing at somebody. Oh, holy shit! This guy over here. So it turns out that that guy should be the last guy, and then once you go up the stairs, you'll get a checkpoint. But you need to very cautiously approach that last area. Okay, now we've got another checkpoint, and over here, this is, I think, the first and only time that the game gives you the M99. The M99 is very similar to the long shot in Gears of War in that any body shot of an enemy will kill it if it's a weak enemy. In Gears, I think, wasn't that it? No, that didn't work like that. It was probably 2 body shots. But the thing I'm trying to mention is that you shoot once and then you reload every time. That's how it works. That's the trade-off for this weapon's having so much power. Any body shot you do of any enemy in this game, this thing will kill it. So what we want to do is well, it's kind of difficult to say exactly what we want to do over here, because you might have noticed that there is an enemy sitting in this boat over here, and I don't really know how to deal with this. So I decided to have Adams take care of him, and actually Adams did a decent job of something over here or other, because I don't think, I think he held his ground. Now, when you do a reset of the checkpoint over here, I found myself always trying to, oh shit, I found myself always going back to get the ammo in the previous area. And it's your call, actually, but just remember that once you jump down into the next area, you can't go back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of all of the nearby threats over here before I jump down, as well as I'm going to go back and refill all my ammunition. So I actually found that having Adams push up, he didn't have too many issues about falling in combat. In fact, what he would usually do a fairly good job in clearing up the any enemies, including the enemy in the ship. And then he would come back and then wait like an obedient dog over here for me to actually jump off the ship. So before I do that, though, I'm going to switch back my weapons the way I want them. And I'm also going to go back into this area and re-get all of the stuff, which I didn't do last time, and which I didn't think of to do last time. But before you jump down into that area, you can go back and do this if it's your inclination to do so. There are a couple of boxes over here that you can get all of it refills of your ammunition. I am going to be switching out this P99 for the 417 though. I forgot to switch back to the 417, so that's the first thing that I'm going to do when I get back up to the ship. Alright, so that is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go back up to the ship, switch our weapons, and then we're going to drop down. Notice that this entire time, Adams is not having much of a problem of doing anything, except he's just sitting there. And the nice thing about it is that it doesn't really matter what goes on over there, because as long as we don't go up here and push the tripwire, we're not going to spawn anybody. But once we come down here and push up, then we will spawn some enemies. So I'm not really concerned for you guys too much with because I know everybody's a competent player when he sets out to be. But I just, once you push up over here, the main things that you need to worry about are going to be the sniper up there, and then any stragglers to the left. Now, I don't think that, I love this weapon too, by the way. Now, the main thing that you're going to want to deal with over here are long-range targets, but those can easily be handled with this weapon. And if you do some pretty crafty, crouching and shoulder switching, this area shouldn't be so bad for you, actually. And this is a powerful weapon too. I don't know why I said it wasn't powerful when I first got it. I guess I just wasn't putting it alongside other weapons that are pretty damn weak compared to this weapon. So the threat about this part is that you don't have any checkpoints. So all of what we've just done could be for naught if we screw up. The absolute worst thing you could do, though, over here is assign Adams any targets to take care of. Just avoid that at all costs. And I just want people to be prepared for the next chapter. It's a tough one, but there are arguably harder sections in the chapter. It's just that starting chapter 14 with the default weapons is it's not good. So your success is going to be much more secured if you just heed my words. And I know people that they haven't watched the guide at all. They're just coming for help on chapter 14. They just stumble across my guide, and they're saying, well, how am I supposed to do this? And I might say, well, did you not watch the previous video? No, I didn't watch it. I'm coming across your guide for the first time. I completely understand that. I know people sometimes don't or can't. They haven't seen the whole walkthrough. So I'm just trying to there's only so much you can do as a human being, to caution people against things. And I just I didn't want there to be any hard feelings about that for anybody involved, because I know the next chapter has a hard fight. But the thing about it is that you can make this game so much harder for yourself if you're putting your teammates in jeopardy. That's what I was doing too much of last time, and it was making me think that the game was a lot harder than it is, because I would have to continually. It felt like I was trudging through a desert with an enemy on my back the whole game, and I've had a slightly different experience this time. I would say overall I've had more of a marked difference, but I knew that I knew last time that targeting enemies was putting them in jeopardy, but I didn't realize the degree to which I was putting the comrades in peril. I mean, I was really not doing them any favors, or certainly myself. Okay, now we've got one fight left for the chapter, and it's actually kind of a difficult fight. It may be the most challenging fight of the game. Adams, for some reason, is mad at you. I don't really follow the story, honestly. The first thing that we're going to do over here is we're going to run to an advantageous piece of cover. Admittedly, there are times in a lot of these types of games where if you're in a good piece of cover, you're completely at an advantage. And the cover over here is actually pretty scarce, but the good thing about the situation, despite the scarcity of the cover, is that there's a good piece of cover for the grabbing. So what you want to do immediately, there's going to be a Humvee coming over there to the right, and also a bayonet runner. Now the first thing you want to do is kill the bayonet runner, obviously, because he's always going to be gunning for you. And then the second thing you want to do is have Adams help you deal with the heavy. Now I am going to use no more than one grenade from the Scar-H's grenade launcher on this section, and I may use one grenade. Now, enemies are going to be throwing grenades at you on this section, but the nice thing about it is, normally, even if you're at the cover, the extreme left, as far left as you can go, in most cases, you don't get killed. Now, there are exceptions, but normally, if you're at the extreme right when you do this part, oh, it's so great that the heavy turned around. If you're at the extreme right over here, just taking care of business as you need to do, if enemies are chucking grenades, if you go to the extreme left, you're usually safe, even if the grenade icon is red. And even if it's too close for comfort, you might think you could just slip out of cover real quick and go back into cover, and it will usually change from red to white, and you're completely safe. Now, this is difficult because you've got to get up to a secure place on top of the ship. You've got enemies shooting at you. It isn't as difficult as it seems, though. It's as long as you can just get to safety up here and deal with a couple of enemies as they come up the stairs, you're going to secure a checkpoint. The problem about it is coming up here so soon is that you've got stragglers on the bottom of the boat, and I have got killed sometimes to enemies throwing grenades up to this area from below, and it's really annoying. So if you would like, you can try to kill as many enemies as you possibly can before you get up here, because you might be killing some of the guys that tend to throw grenades a little bit more. There is a shotgun up here. I found that the shotgun wasn't too helpful over here, and that's the reason I decided not to pick it up. But the main problem over here is that you've got a sandstorm and your vision is limited. So all we have to do really is just hold out and kill anybody who comes up the stairs, and it really is difficult because enemies seem to be able to shoot around cover a little bit to the right, and that's the main problem. So as long as you realize that and you're very careful to quickly shoot and then move to the left of the cover, you should be pretty well covered. Now, once the sandstorm passes, you'll find that no more enemies come up here, but you're going to have to kill stragglers below while you're above. And while that normally in games you would think that having the height advantage is a good thing, well, it's not in Spec Ops Align. And the reason for that is because aiming over cover to target an enemy, you can get put down. Anytime enemies are in close proximity to you in a game like this, and there are multiple of them, you don't stand a chance. You're gonna get chopped down like a lawnmower cutting down grass, or like a scythe shearing wheat. Like, you're gonna get put down. So you wanna very safely. Probably, I would check out what grenades are up here and use those, because you can actually you could refill your grenades that way. Thank you, Adams. See, Adams is a pretty good lad, throwing some grenades to help out the family. Good boy, Adams. After this after this fight too, you can also refill on any grenades that you might need. So there's the checkpoint, and now make sure that you pick up all of the grenades. Just reconnoiter the entire environment, like I say a million times over. You guys are sick of me hearing that, sick of me saying that. Sorry, but that's it, guys. That's your rags to riches, Vita Corleone story. And you know what? I was recently watching The Godfather, and I think that The Godfather 2 is quite boring. I love Marlon Brando's performance in The Godfather. There's so many great performances in The Godfather. You know, I could care less for John Wick and all that shit. You know, I'm not impressed by spectacle and, you know, lavishness and things like that. I'm impressed by good acting and quality. That's what I'm impressed by, and that's why a lot of the games that come out these days, I could give two shits about them. You know, for as good as Uncharted 4 looks, it plays like shit, and it's tailored to, you know, toward it leans towards the engine. It's horrible. It's so horrible compared to the first three games. It's on. You know, I'm not even going to talk about it because I'm going to get upset, and I don't want to get upset because you know. I don't want to make you guys mad. So anyway, that's been chapter 13, guys. I will see you in the 14th chapter. It isn't the final chapter, but it is one of the final combat chapters. And I only say that because we're going to be including the epilogue as well. So you guys continue to take care. And hopefully you've gone into the hard chapter with as much as you possibly can to help you out. So please take care.